Hello there. In this video, I'm going to analyze some arguments against the claim that by having protected consensual sex, you thereby grant any potential fetus that results the right to your body. And I'm going to argue that the final version of these arguments succeeds in justifying its conclusion. Now, as I've argued in a previous video, I think this claim, namely that by having sex you grant the fetus a right to your body, is a crucial assumption in common arguments against abortion, although it's not often defended or even made explicit. And so if we have a compelling argument against this claim, then I think that's a big problem for the case against abortion. Before I begin, I want to say that the thought experiments I use in this video are inspired by a paper by philosopher Judith Thomson. I've put information about this reference in the description below. It's pretty much required reading on the ethics of abortion. Okay, so let's get to the central claim that I'll be arguing against in this video. This is the following. By having protected consensual sex, you thereby grant any possible fetus that results the right to your body. In other words, the right to live inside your body without being removed. Now, this central claim is connected to the ethics of abortion in the following way. If, through some weird circumstances, another human ended up implanted inside your body and had to live there for 9 months, even if this human has a right to life, it doesn't follow that they have the right to live inside your body. And if you want to remove this human from your body, you have the right to do so, even if the only way to remove them ends up killing them. Now, for the purpose of this video, let's just grant that the fetus is a human being in the relevant sense. Okay? So in cases of abortion, things are somewhat similar, right? There's another human inside your body, and they need to live there for a certain amount of time. And the question is, do you have a right to remove them from your body if the only way to remove them ends up killing them? Okay? So if you think you do not have this right, then you have to explain what's the difference between this case and the case where, through some weird circumstances, maybe there's mad scientists involved, another human ends up implanted in your body. And the obvious proposal is that you've done something that gives the fetus a right to your body, and you thereby lose the right to remove it from your body. So if we can show this central claim to be false, we will have dealt a pretty significant blow to the case against abortion. All right, so let's get to the first case that we'll be using in our argument. This is case 1, mad scientists, or the MS case. Unbeknownst to the public, there's a team of mad scientists conducting illicit experiments around downtown LA. If you walk around in downtown LA, there's a small chance of having one of these mad scientists create a human clone and implant it inside your body. It needs to live there for 9 months until it is fully developed and can go off and live on its own. It affects your body in roughly the same ways that a pregnancy does. The only way to remove the human clone is to disintegrate it, which kills it. Okay, so here's the case, and now let's get to an argument that appeals to this case. This is argument A, mad scientists. Premise 1, if having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body, then walking around downtown LA in the MS case grants any possible clone that a mad scientist implants in you the right to your body. Premise 2, it's not the case that walking around downtown LA in the MS case grants any possible clone that a mad scientist implants in you the right to your body. Conclusion, so it's not the case that having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body. Okay, now, there might be some people out there who would deny the second premise, but I think most people are going to find it pretty plausible. Right? It's not the case that simply by walking around downtown LA in this weird MS case, this grants any possible clone that gets implanted in you the right to live inside your body. Right? Maybe you'd be a nice person if you allowed this clone to live inside you, but you have the right to remove it, even if the only way to remove it ends up killing it. Okay? Again, I think many people are going to find this plausible. So the question is, should we accept this first premise? Right? Now, let's think about this premise, okay? Again, it says, if having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body, then walking around downtown LA in the MS case grants any possible clone that a mad scientist implants in you the right to your body. Okay. Now, obviously, to defend this premise, we want to point to the ways in which the two cases are similar. The more similar they are, the more plausible this premise is. So, what are the similarities? Well, both involve a small chance of resulting in a human that needs to live inside your body for 9 months. Okay? So, both cases involve a small chance of another human ending up infringing on your bodily autonomy. And in both cases, there's an action that you're taking that is leading to this, right? In the first case, you're having protected consensual sex. And in the second case, you're walking around downtown LA. Okay? And we can also say the chance of the mad scientist implanting this human clone in you is exactly equal to the chance of protection failing. Okay? Now, how would we object to a premise like this? Well, in general, the way you object to a premise like this is you point out a way in which the cases are different and you argue that it's a morally relevant difference. Okay? So, let's look at one possible objection. You might say, look, there's a moral difference between the human clone and a fetus. However, I don't think this is a very good objection. We could tweak the case and add some details just to ensure that the human clone has all the same features that a fetus does, at least when it comes to morality. Okay? We could say that the human clone has your DNA. It's going to have a life that's exactly the same as the fetus would have, etc. Okay, so I don't think this is a promising way to get around this premise. However, I do think there is a pretty compelling objection, okay? And that's the following. The risks of protected consensual sex leading to pregnancy are common knowledge, whereas, as we said in the MS case, it's unbeknownst to the public. Nobody knows that these mad scientists are conducting these weird experiments. So when you choose to walk around downtown LA, you don't know that there's any risk of this occurring. Okay? Whereas when you have protected consensual sex, at least in the vast majority of cases, you have knowledge that this is a risk. So I don't think this premise quite succeeds, given that there is this difference that seems pretty relevant. Okay? So this brings us to our second case. This one is called Art and Athletics, or the AA case. Mad scientists have made it so a certain substance with human DNA floats around in any area in which artistic or athletic activities take place. If the substance gets implanted in you, it becomes a human being and grows a body over the course of 9 months until it is fully developed and can go off and live on its own. It affects the human body in roughly the same ways that a pregnancy does. The only way to remove it is to disintegrate it, which kills it. However, there's also a protective suit you can buy and wear in these parasite-prone areas. The suit is very effective in keeping the substance from becoming implanted, but it's not perfect. Let's assume that it has roughly the same chance of failing as protection does, right? And let's also say, and this is important, this is all common knowledge, okay? So remember that the relevant difference that undermined the first premise in our first argument is that the risks of sex are common knowledge, but the risks of walking around downtown LA with these mad scientists conducting their experiments was not common knowledge. However, in this case, all of this is common knowledge, okay? So this brings us to the second argument, argument B, art and athletics. Premise 1, if having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body, then voluntarily attending artistic or athletic activities with the protective suit in the AA case grants any possible human that results the right to your body. Premise 2, it's not the case that voluntarily attending artistic or athletic activities with the protective suit in the AA case grants any possible human that results the right to your body. Conclusion, so it's not the case that having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body. Okay, so let's look at the second premise here. Now again, I think there might be some of you that deny this premise, but I think many people, and I think the majority of people, are going to find this premise plausible, right? Simply by attending artistic or athletic activities, right? An art gallery, a football game, even when this is common knowledge, this risk is common knowledge, if you wear this protective suit, then you've taken precautions, and should this thing get implanted in you anyway, it doesn't thereby acquire the right to your body. Now again, there might be people who deny this, but I find this premise pretty plausible. There might be some people that would advocate for total abstinence from all artistic or athletic activities until you're ready to bring somebody into the world, but that doesn't seem reasonable to me. If someone wants to enjoy artistic or athletic activities and they've taken this precaution of wearing this protective suit, if they get unlucky and this human ends up implanted inside them, then this human does not have the right to their body. Okay, so if you're still on board with the second premise, the question is, should we accept this first premise? All right, so let's look at it once more. If having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body, then voluntarily attending artistic or athletic activities with the protective suit in the AA case grants any possible human that results the right to your body. Okay, so how do we support this premise? Well, we want to argue that the cases are relevantly similar. Both involve the known small risk of resulting in a human that needs to live inside your body for 9 months. And in both cases, you've taken the relevant precaution. Okay? Now, how might you object to this premise? Well, once again, you might try to argue that there's a difference between a fetus and this human parasite that ends up inside your body through this weird, mad scientist created scenario. But I don't think this is going to be a very promising objection. Again, we can tweak the case and fill in the necessary details to ensure that these human parasites are exactly alike fetuses in all of the morally relevant ways. Okay? So I think instead, this is how some might object to this premise. Pregnancy is a natural, quote-unquote, result of sex, whereas the spawning of human parasites in the AA case is a result of mad scientist intervention. To put this another way, the God-given or evolutionary function of sex is reproduction. I'm trying to stay as neutral as possible here, so insofar as things have functions, I'm going to stay neutral on whether they have a function because there's a God who created them with a certain purpose, or because they developed as a result of evolution having that function. Now, this only succeeds as an objection if this is a morally relevant difference between the two cases. And to put my cards on the table, I don't find this to be morally relevant. Okay? The difference here is supposed to be that one of these things is a natural result of the activity, namely pregnancy is a natural result of sex, whereas having the human parasite implanted in you is not a natural result of attending art galleries or football games. It's only a result of it because of mad scientist intervention. However, as we've said, the chance of this resulting is the same in each, and in both cases, the risks are common knowledge. Okay? I think the chance of each occurring and whether the risks are known are the relevant factors. However, whether this is natural or not doesn't seem to me to be very relevant. But I think there are some people who will find it relevant, and so it's worth considering one final case in order to get around this. I call this case the no sex case, or NS. The world is just like it is in the art and athletics AA case, with one key difference. In this world, there is no sex. All procreation happens through the implantation of the substance that floats around in areas in which artistic or athletic activities take place. Furthermore, this is no coincidence. Reproduction is the evolutionary or God-given function of artistic and athletic activity, and people have a very strong drive to engage in these activities. This is how it has always been, and how our species and civilization came about. Once again, this is all common knowledge. Okay? So, it's just like the previous case, except no more mad scientists involved. This is the way the world is naturally. Hopefully, we all have the imagination to conceive of this world. Okay? So let's get to the argument. This is the final argument. Argument C, no sex. Premise 1, if having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body, then voluntarily attending artistic or athletic activities with a protective suit in the NS case grants any possible human that results the right to your body. Premise 2, It's not the case that voluntarily attending artistic or athletic activities with the protective suit in the NS case grants any possible human that results a right to your body. Conclusion, so it's not the case that having protected consensual sex grants any possible fetus that results the right to your body. Okay, so in this final argument, we've accounted for the relevant differences that might have been a problem for the previous arguments. Once again, there's now the known risk of this occurring, and now the consequence of having a human implanted in you for 9 months is a natural result of attending any artistic or athletic activity. So, I think we've gotten around the differences that are potentially morally relevant. I think we have two cases that are extremely analogous and similar in all of the morally relevant ways. Okay? So the question is, should we accept this second premise? Again, the second premise says it's not the case that voluntarily attending artistic or athletic activities with the protective suit in the NS case grants any possible human that results a right to your body. Now, I still find the second premise to be plausible. We have a very strong drive to go to art galleries, to attend football games, to go to concerts, that sort of thing. All of these fall under the category of artistic or athletic activities, right? And so if you're going to these things and you take the needed precaution of wearing this protective suit, if you get unlucky and this human ends up implanted inside you, it seems to me that this human does not have the right to live inside your body. Maybe you'd be a nice person if you let it live there for the 9 months, but you have a right to remove it, even if the only way of removing it is killing it. Now, once again, there might be some of you who would advocate abstinence from all artistic or athletic activities until you're ready to bring a human into the world. But once again, I don't find this to be reasonable. We have a strong drive to engage in these activities, and insofar as we take the relevant precautions, it seems to me that we don't thereby grant any possible human that results the right to live inside your body. But if you're on the other side of this one, right, if you think that the human parasite does have the right to live inside your body without being removed just because you attended a rock concert or an art gallery or a football game, then I wish you good fortune in the culture wars to come. And now it begins.